My name is Jamin Gurker. I'm your first friend in Alaska, and I'm an associate real estate broker in South Central Alaska. And this video here today is to give you the market update for what's going on in the Mat-Su Valley as it pertains to the single family real estate, land, and multifamily. So we'll be talking about all that in just a couple minutes. Before we get started though, make sure you give this video a like, subscribe, do all that great stuff, and let's go and jump into today's market update, looking first at the single family residential homes. Now, the first thing we're going to look at is what's going on as far as the active inventory for single family homes. And what we see here is that this time last year in January, where we have the most complete data, we had about 290 properties available on the market. Now we're seeing about 365. Now, that is a big jump in the right direction. Do keep in mind though, normally prior to COVID, we'd see anywhere from about 520 properties available onto the market to about 630. So it's still got a long ways to go here, but that is a big step in the right direction. And if you're looking for a home in South Central Alaska, you are painfully aware that there are way more options available over in the Mat-Su as opposed to Anchorage. The next thing we see is the number of single-family homes that have actually closed went from about 86 last year to 87 this year. And really, this is about normal. We'd see anywhere from about 83 to about 99 properties sell for the month of January. So the fact that we're at 87, we're kind of par for the course, even though we're sitting in only like a third or half of, well, we'll say about half to 2/3 of what we normally have for the inventory. We're still selling about the same number. So that does kind of speak to the demand that we're seeing here in the Mat-Su Valley. Now, what we're seeing as far as the average sold price in the Mat-Su Valley, it's not that big of a surprise because we went last year to date, to about 413,000 to about 440,000 this year, which means we're sitting at about a 6.7% increase for the average sold price. Now, that's not a huge surprise, just given what we've already said, where the inventory's really low, but the number of sales happening is still right on pace with what we've seen before. So that does indicate that there is a lot of demand out there. And that's great that we're seeing that for the Mat-Su Valley. I'm not really sure that the takeaway is that if you have a home out there, your home has gone up by nearly 7%. I don't think that's really the takeaway. The takeaway for me looking at this is there's more new construction homes in the Mat-Su Valley than in other places, because if you're looking at a new construction home, and that's really the big benefit that the Mat-Su Valley has over Anchorage right now, you are going to be paying a much higher price than what you're going to be paying for something that was built 10, 15, 20 years ago. And so with that being the case, we're just going to see the average sold price be naturally higher in the valley, at least for the appreciation wise, as compared to Anchorage. Now, the Mat-Su Valley still has seen a lot of people move out in that direction, so it wouldn't surprise me at all that the appreciation is somewhat close to that. But do keep in mind we've got a lot more new construction mixed into the overall makeup than what we would see in other markets like Anchorage. All right, let's switch gears real quick and take a look at what's going on in raw land. So in raw land, we see that we went from about 580 pieces of raw land available this time last year to about 475 this year. That's right. That means that the amount of inventory is actually decreased from the year before. And not by any small margin. Now, looking prior to COVID, we see that normally we'd have anywhere from about 950, approximately up to 1,000. So the fact that we're only at 475 shows that we're only at about half the inventory available as to what we had before. Now, keep in mind, this is raw land. It does not take into consideration how many acres of raw land it is that we're looking at. We might be talking about little postage stamp quarter-acre lots, or these might be like 100-acre parcels. I just don't know by looking at this, but we do see that the number of available units on the MLS definitely has decreased, and let's take a look and see how that affects the rest of this. Now, despite the inventory being lower than what it was before, we in fact see that the number of sold pieces of land went from 36 this year to 40 this year. And that's actually higher than what we normally see. Usually we'd see anywhere from about 20 to about 30, 35 lots selling prior to COVID. So the fact that we're seeing 40 really is indicative that we are seeing more demand for raw land out there than what we had before. Now, looking at the average price here, we see that the average price, and we'll unpack this, average price year to date went from about $86,000 for this time last year to about $136,000 this year. So we've obviously seen a pretty big jump in the average sold price. I don't think it's gone up quite by that much. I think what probably happened, we probably had some parcel that was like a couple hundred acres, commercial land or something like that, sold for a couple million, and it's really throwing off the numbers here. When we have kind of the small sample size that we have in January, you can really see how that throws off all the numbers. So yes, I do believe we've probably seen a pretty substantial increase in the value for land in the Mat-Su Valley. I don't think it's quite gone up by that much. Now let's go ahead and do kind of a quick break real quick here. For those of you who've been watching, you know I host a podcast called the Alaskan Journey Podcast, where I talk with people who've recently moved up here and really have them explain what it's like living up here in Alaska. And the cool thing about that is it's from them. I don't put words in their mouth. It's just whatever they think, the good, the bad, the ugly. And you get to hear directly from the horse's mouth, if you would, about what it's like living up here. So if that's something that would benefit you, feel free to go description section down below. We've got the audio podcast there. We also do have episodes on this YouTube channel as well. So if that's the way you like to watch your podcast, make sure you go check that out there as well. Now, without further ado, let's go and finish up today's market update looking at the multifamily market. Now, looking at the multifamily market, we see this time last year, there were 30 properties available on the market. This year, there are 32. And normally what we would see is anywhere from about 50 to 62 properties available on the market. So yes, we are seeing a slight increase compared to the year before. As with all the asset classes, we still got a long ways to go though. Now, when we're looking at the number of multifamily properties that have actually sold, we see that this time last year it was 4, and this year it's 14. So proportionally, that's a pretty big jump. And honestly, looking at the number of properties that have actually sold prior to COVID, that's definitely on the high end. I actually would expect anywhere from about 2 to 11. I know that's a big range, but the fact that we're at 14 really does indicate that there's, at least for the month of January, pretty good demand for multifamily properties in the Mat-Su Valley. Last but not least, we see that the average sold price for multifamily properties went from about $600,000 this time last year to about $683,000 this year. And that is a pretty big jump. But do keep in mind that averages for the year to date, that includes everything from the little duplex all the way up to like the big 50-unit commercial property that's getting sold. So I suspect probably something on the higher end there got mixed into the sale prices here and just kind of threw everything off. But that being said, we do see more and more people moving out to the valley, and they're looking for more affordable living accommodations. And with that being the case, that does kind of make the rent go up, which in turn does make the value of the property go up as well. So it would not surprise me that we're seeing a pretty healthy increase for the average sold price. I just don't think it's gone up by 14%. I don't think it's gone up by quite that much. I suspect it's gone up in a pretty healthy margin. It's going to depend on the specific property by how much. If that's something you're interested in, reach out, let's talk, and we'll see how best I can help you. Now, in the summary for everybody, what I'm seeing is if you are a buyer in this market, you know, you're happier than you have been in the past, you know, which that's great. You're getting more options now, and that's a luxury you did not have before. So that's all good. Downside is that properties are going to continue going up in the value in the Mat-Su Valley, and partly that's because we have a lot of new construction, and those are obviously on the high end. Well, yeah, on the absolute highest end of the market that you can get. And also more people are moving to the valley, and so the cost of everything there is just going to go up because it's more in demand. Now, the good news is more options though. And I cannot overemphasize that enough. If you're trying to buy something in Eagle River or Anchorage, you're really kind of struck by the limit of options that are available. Now, if you're a seller in the Mat-Su Valley, good news is more of a seller's market. Bad news is it isn't 2021. Okay, so you still have to be realistic on what you're asking for. It's not like before where you could just ask for any old price that was absolutely insane and still get a multiple offer situation. That's not where we're at anymore. As speaking to investors now, just make sure your deals actually balance out and they actually do make sense. And when I say make sense, I mean you need to have enough margin in there to where if something breaks, you can fix it quickly and your tenants don't have to sit around for a couple months waiting for you to install a new dishwasher or water heater or something like that. That sounds ridiculous. I have seen it happen though, so make sure you've got the margin baked in because your tenants are depending on you. But that's all I got. Thanks for watching. If you have any questions, I think people forget this every now and then. I am actually a real estate broker, and I actually do make my actual living off of helping people buy and sell real estate. So if you do have questions, reach out to me. Let's talk. Be happy to help. But thanks for watching. See you next time.